Here we go. The Canadian women are back in town. Inside BMO Field in Toronto, they're getting set for their only tune-up game before the Concacaf Championship in July. South Korea is the opponent as we see the Maple Leaf for the first time since April. There they are taking to the pitch for warm-up. The clouds are threatening, but so far they're holding off. I think we're going to have ourselves an excellent match as we welcome you inside our One Soccer studio. You are watching Match Day Live. Annie Petrollo alongside Oliver Platt. Pleased to be joined as well. She is at BMO Field. That will be former national team member, Olympic bronze medalist Diana Matheson, who will be honored today as well, pre-game. Dee, really love that you're with us here on the show. And we know that this is a big summer for the Canadian women. So this is a friendly here today. But beginning on July 5th in Mexico, they're playing in the Concacaf Championship, which acts as a qualifier for the World Cup, the inaugural Gold Cup in 2024. Oh, and by the way, the winner of that Concacaf Championship automatically qualifies for 2024 Paris, the Olympics. Dee, we know the Canadians are the defending Olympic champions. What does it take, though, to translate that success at the Olympics into becoming world champions?
Yeah, that's a great question. Hi, Andy. Nice to be here today. The World Cup, for some reason, has been a bit of an enigma for the Canadian time. We have had such success at the Olympics, and I assure you, Bev Priestman will be digging into that exact question. For me, perhaps it's always been a bit of a depth issue. It's a bigger roster at the Women's World Cup, 23 people as opposed to 18. That goes maybe speaking to the point that we don't have a league here to really boost that lower end of our roster, but the Canadian team's getting stronger and stronger every year, and there's no reason we can't come home with a gold at a Women's World Cup like we did at the Olympics.
Yeah, and Ollie, we know that everyone is, oh, the Olympic tournament, obviously a lot different than the World Cup tournament, but it doesn't matter, especially when it comes to the women's game. You just look at the grand stage and they say, well, Olympic champions, right? That has to translate into World Cup success.
It does, but it's a longer tournament and it's a harder tournament with a bigger field of teams, you know, especially the top teams, right? And so I think, you know, Bev Priestman would tell you, these players would tell you, there needs to be an evolution there. There needs to be progress there over the next 12 months if they're going to contend to win a World Cup. I think we all know the Olympic success was built on incredible defensive solidity, incredible character in penalty shootouts and in big moments. And those are things that are fantastic to have in Olympics, World Cup, any tournament. If you have those characteristics, you're going to have a real chance of being successful. What we need to see on top of that now, I think, in a longer tournament, is a team that can play a bit more football, cause a few more problems in attack as well, spend a bit more time resting in possession, you know, making the opponent run. And if there's that kind of evolution and progress, then I think they've got a real chance next summer.
Before we hear from Bev Priestman, just quickly, Dee, I'm curious to get your thoughts. With this friendly here, if you were Bev Priestman, what would you be trying to get out of your squad?
I think this is really your last really solid tune-up before you get into some of those games in the CONCACAF tournament that mean a lot. Because some of those early games in the CONCACAF tournament are generally weaker. You're starting to play your best players, your best lineups together now and looking for a bit of chemistry. Absolutely goals. That's always the standing question for Canada. Who's going to score the goals if it's not Christine Sinclair? I'm looking for the midfield to have a really strong game. If we can really start to build some midfield goals, that's going to speak well for Canada's success going forward towards the Women's World Cup next year.
All right, well, let's hear from Bev Priestman. Earlier, she had a chance to catch up with a new addition to our team. That would be Emily Wilson. Have a listen.
First question off the hop, where is this team in terms of preparing for the World Cup qualifiers coming up?
Yeah, I think it's probably at the start of, you know, us getting our rhythm back from April, but we very much have focused for some time around, you know, how we beat a block and prepare for a CONCACAF style opposition. But I think today it won't be perfect, but I think the team's mindset, as long as the mindset's right, we'll be ready and we'll learn from this game. So it's, you know, it's not the be all and end all today, it's part of the bigger picture. But whatever we learn, we'll use for July 5th.
Okay, and how close is today's lineup compared to the one that we might see open the Women's Championship in a few weeks' time?
Yeah, you know, we're juggling a few things, looking at the bigger picture. We're carrying a few niggles and knocks. So, you know, it's not the lineup, but there's a lineup at stake. And I think every player that steps on this pitch is going to get it everything to make sure they can play in that game.
And Jessie Fleming today on the verge of 100 caps. Just how important is her presence in the midfield and in general in this squad?
Yeah, I think Jessie's looking the best she's ever looked. I think her leadership on the pitch, off the pitch, she's really stepping up and a big part of this team. So it'll be a special night for Jessie at the age of, 24 with 100 caps. It's a bright future.
Okay, and finally, in your goal setting, looking forward, how have you asked your team to kind of refocus after winning the gold medal and then also the celebration tour?
Yeah, I think we said we had to start again. So we had to come down off that mountain and go and climb probably a bigger one. So that means hard work. That means take every game in front of you. That means we have to keep climbing. And I think we can't live off that gold medal. It'll give us confidence going into this summer, but it'll not make us overconfident. We'll take everything we learned from that, but we need to now keep adding and moving forward.
Thank you, Bev.
Thank you.
Well, she talks some knocks. One of those knocks would be to Christine St. Clair, even though she is on the bench. As we take a look at Canada's starting 11 here, kind of makes you wonder with Jessie Fleming up top there. Maybe she won't be a fullback. Bev Priestman, even though we've seen her play that position before, perhaps not thinking that is a full-time position for her. But I do want to hone in on the goalkeeper. The big topic, of course, is Stephanie Labbé having retired after that celebration tour. And Kaylin Sheridan, we thought she was already going to be the #1 Ollie, even heading into the Olympics. She was the starter for the She Believes Cup, got injured, but then Steph Labbé took the reins, never looked back. But is this her position right now?
Yeah, I think so. I think she's been seen as the goalkeeper of the future for this team for a little while. Like you said, Labbé then took back the jersey at the Olympics last summer. I just wonder if, looking at those three goalkeepers now, she is the senior one in this group now. It's not just Labbé. Erin McLeod's not in the squad for this tournament either. And I think sometimes for a goalkeeper, not for a second saying that Labbé isn't an excellent teammate, but sometimes that can be a little bit freeing for you when you know you're the #1, right? And you know that you're really going to get a run of games and the team is going to rely on you. So I think this is such a crucial position for Canada, again, for all the reasons we just talked about in terms of the strengths of this team. You have a really fantastic defensive group developing, I think, in front of the goalkeepers. Not just the established names, but some younger players like Jade Riviere as well coming through. It could be a breakout player this year, I think. It's so important, Diana, that they have consistency. They have the same level that Steph Labbé has given them for so long in Kaylin Sheridan at the goalkeeper position.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only knock that could be said against Kaylin Sheridan in the last few years is that she's perhaps looked a bit nervous coming into big games for Canada. But that's what happens when you don't have games under your belt for Canada. She has been rock solid in her professional career for a decade now. And I have no doubt she's going to step into this role for Canada. And once she has a few more games under her belt and she's that designated starter, Canada is really going to see what Kaylin Sheridan can do, because she's been doing it already in the NWSL.
Well, and Diana, we've been seeing Canadians do great things overseas, in the States as well when it comes to their play. And ever since winning that Olympic gold, we've also seen movement from the Canadians. When we had Tommy Wilden Jr. on earlier on One Soccer Today, he had talked about Canada becoming a well now for talent. That's both on the men's and the women's side. Look no further than Kadisha Buchanan, who's pretty incredible. And for so long, she has been with Lyon, winning league titles, winning Champions League. What do you make of her move now to Chelsea?
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I think Chelsea's hungry for some Champions League titles, and that's a pretty great move to make. I think the trend after 2012, really, we saw change. Canadians were not the cool players to bring in for a lot of international leagues, but after 2012, that changed a bit. And now I think we're seeing another jump forward in that, where after the gold medal in Tokyo, we're seeing Canadians amongst the best signings in the world. So if a team is hungry to bring in Champions League trophies, you bring in Canadians. And I think that's a great move for Kadisha. I think she got what she wanted out of playing in France, and now it's time for a different league, and she's going to thrive there, I'm sure.
Yeah, I talked a bit to Bev Priestman about Kadisha Buchanan and all the players that have moved yesterday, and she said in Kadisha in particular, she's seen a real shift in her mentality, right? Going from being, an excellent player at Lyon, but having some really senior teammates like Wendy Renard next to her, to now being, a big part of that Chelsea team, someone who's been brought in to be the leader of that back line, right? It takes a different mentality. I think that shift is happening for her, and it'll be interesting to see how it translates to her Canada form.
Janine Beckie, another move, Manchester City, but she actually comes back to the NWSL.
Yeah, and it shows you the options that are opening up for Canadian players like Diana was talking about there. There's an opportunity to go to Europe, to play in the WSL, the French league, all of these different leagues, the Spanish league obviously improving as well now. but then also some really good NWSL options that still exist. And I think one thing that's interesting about this from a Canadian perspective is the obvious one. She's now playing with Christine Sinclair, and week in, week out. And how is that going to strengthen their relationship on the pitch and off it as two of Canada's key attacking players? I think that's pretty exciting to look forward to.
Yeah, a lot of these moves too. I mean, Kadisha Buchanan moving to Chelsea. We know that's where Jessie Fleming is. Jordan Haidema, we're going to get to in just a second. But Janine Becky, of course, moving to Portland. And you're talking about Christine Sinclair. I guess I jumped the gun. The next player we're going to talk about is Jordan Haidema here, who has now moved from PSG, Diana. She is with OL Reign. We know Quinn is on that team. But for Jordan Haidema, I had a chance to speak to her just last week. We know there's no secret, D. She needs minutes. She wants to be playing night in and night out.
Yeah, and that's it, isn't it? She signed and she went to France pretty young on a great contract, very exciting for young Canadians. She kind of set the precedent with that. But if you're not playing, you're not developing. And it's really important for her to be playing tons of minutes. And, OL Reign has a pretty good lineup too, but hopefully she can break into that lineup early, show what she can do, and really start to develop. I think there's no ceiling for Jordan if she can start to get those minutes playing consistency. And yeah, I'm loving the West Coast and the NWSL. They're just collecting Canadians at the moment. I'm all for it.
That's exactly what they're doing. Now, those are three that we just highlighted, but more Canadians have moved around since winning that Olympic gold. Julia Grosso now playing in Serie A with Juventus. Vanessa Gilles also made the move back to the NWSL, playing with Angel City. And Kaylin Sheridan has moved around just from a different team within the NWSL. So Canadians, whether they're staying overseas, moving back to North America, lots of movement there. As to your point, Dee, the interest starts to get greater when you start to win on big international stages. As we take a look at South Korea's starting 11 here. Haeri Kim, by the way, is going to be one of the players as well honored before the match. We know that Jessie Fleming, we'll get into her in just a moment, for hitting 100 caps today. But Kadisha Buchanan, Ashley Lawrence, they're also going to be honored, and so will Kim. For the South Korean side, hitting that century mark. We have more coming up here on Matchday Live, getting set for this friendly between Canada and South Korea inside BMO Field. Janine Becky, our Ollie, had a chance to sit down with her. And of course, we'll get into the big story, which is the contract negotiations with Canada Soccer. Stay with us.
Gatorade, with electrolytes to help replenish what's lost in sweat, carbs to help fuel your working muscles, and fluids to help you hydrate. Scientifically formulated so you never stop competing.
I do this for my town, my time, my time. None of you people can tell me to stop.
Rehydrate, replenish, refuel.
We know what it takes to get to the top.
Gatorade.
To play. It's something that's in us from the very beginning, and something we take with us on every step of the journey. When we have no words, it gives us a way to speak. When we are still finding our way in the world, it gives us somewhere to belong. And no matter who we are or where we come from, it gives us the right to dream.
Christine Sinclair, as she scores at her 5th World Cup. Alfonso Davies!
It's time to celebrate the game we love. It's time to play.
There's a look at Janine Becky, who has been very vocal talking about the women's contract negotiations with Canada Soccer, and earlier this week sat down with Oliver Platt just to give an update on where they are in that scenario.
You know, I think the collective mindset is the best possible format for all people involved, all teams involved, and I think that's the premise that we're operating on. There's still, you know, conversations to be had and things to be done, but we're moving in a really positive direction, and I think it will be a monumental deal regardless of what the terms end at. And, you know, I think with the men having the success that they've had in the last year and us having this, you know, most success we've seen as a team in the last year, you know, what a time to be a Canadian player and to really make a statement in the world of football with a deal like this. So yeah, safe to say we're moving very much in the right direction. Still some work to be done, and we definitely won't settle till we're really, really happy with what's happening, but definitely would say it's been really positive. Yeah, I mean, in our eyes, equal dollars is equal pay. So, you know, how we get there is yet to be determined, and I think we're in those conversations, and those conversations are happening, and there's a lot of moving pieces to it. I think that's a lot of what people don't understand, is it's not as black and white as it sounds. You know, equal pay, equal dollars sounds really black and white, but there's a lot that goes into it. You know, it's a big discussion, the discrepancy in FIFA money that teams receive when they qualify for the World Cup, so that's something that has to be taken into consideration. And I think also, you know, we sign an equal pay deal, you know, Spain, Holland, the US are signing equal pay deals, but the next step is to put the pressure on FIFA to close that gap, because then it makes it not as difficult on federations to give equal pay to both teams, which is absolutely what every federation in the world should be doing. But obviously it makes it more difficult when FIFA's discrepancy is so big. So, you know, that's a call to action to FIFA to change that, and hopefully we see a raise in the FIFA prize money next summer, which we're planning on seeing. So yeah, I think this team is so forward thinking, and we've always been that way, and I'm really, really proud to be part of a team and a federation that wants to continue to take steps forward. And I think we have so many people on our team that want to do that and see that as a massive priority. You know, it's not our job just to kick a ball around the field. It's to make this a better place to live and a better federation to play in than it has been this whole time. You know, we want to leave places better than we found it, and I think we're well on our way there.
United States.
Andy Ollie, Diana Matheson inside BMO Field here, and you know, it is very complicated. It's not black or white, but I have to say Janine did a really good job at just simplifying what it is that they're asking, what it is that they're doing. The onus right now, Dee, as we know, is on the federations, but they eventually want to put the pressure on the governing bodies when it comes to distributing that purse money. But this is a fight that's been going on a long time. This is something that even you yourself, you know, have been a part of, and even players who have come before you with the women, right? So what is it that the women are looking for from their federation?
Yeah, I think you hear the term equal pay as opposed to equal percentage. I think that's been described well by a few people. The men's and women's World Cup money, totally different. If you get 30% of $1 million, is very different than getting 30% of $10 million. So the women want equal pay, not equal percentages. I think on top of that, it's just not about that World Cup dollar amount. The women really want equal treatment in a lot of things. The size of the budget, the size of the staffing for the women's national team, travel conditions, appearance fees. They're a group that want to improve things for the future, and it's really important to them that they make sure all of these things are part of an equal pay package moving forward. And I think Canada Soccer is so well positioned to be the next country, to have that really solid equal pay deal, because like Janine said, the more countries that do this, and especially the strong women's soccer countries that can lead this, hopefully FIFA will get the message that what they're doing isn't quite right, and they make some changes at the top that can help really support the women's soccer teams around the world fighting for it on the ground. If the changes happen at the FIFA level, it's going to make a huge difference.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and just to give an update on where things are at in terms of the negotiations, my understanding is there was a new offer submitted this week. I don't think too much has changed in terms of the percentages, the numbers. You know, it's the 30-30-40 split, 30 to the men, 30 to the women, 40 to the federation. In terms of World Cup prize money, I believe that is still the case in the latest offer. And then there's been, I think, some tweaks done to appearance fees, more incentivizing, beating bigger nations, things like that have been worked into the deal. So I think, you know, the federation certainly wants to meet that equal pay kind of commitment that the women have been very, very clear on. And now it's just about, as Janine Becky was talking about there, how exactly do you get there in a way that everyone's happy with? And you see improvements, again, not just to money, but also to conditions, facilities, staffing, and all those types of things.
Yeah, there's a lot obviously that goes into it. It's not just about, you know, the money, it's the travel, and it's just the treatment there as well, Dee, as you were alluding to. But I wonder, is this a great This is a great opportunity for both sides to obviously learn from one another, what it is that Canada Soccer feels they need to explain, what it is that the players also feel they need to present of what it is that they want. But if you were to give an opinion, a thought on how Canada Soccer can make things different, I mean, we've been hearing a lot about perhaps maybe more of an alumni association, more former players being involved. How do you see things even just moving forward from a federation perspective outside of contract?
Yeah, that's a great question, Andy, and I think you saw from what the men asked for when they didn't play that game, it wasn't just money, it was a bit more transparency from Canada Soccer, and that's been something that's, I mean, been going on for decades. It's not just Canada Soccer too, it's a problem in Canadian sport. Athletes want more transparency. I think always having an athlete voice is so key. Of course, Brittany Baxter Timko's on the board, but I know the players have pushed for a women's soccer committee to be on the board as well, to try and shape some strategic planning around building a league, those other things. I think right now there's a lot of money that's starting to flow into our country, which hasn't been there before. And with that comes a lot more scrutiny, a lot more eyeballs. Of course, the money from the men qualifying for the World Cup this winter, but then FIFA 2026 coming to town. I mean, it's a once-in-a-generation opportunity for money and capital to flow into our country. And I think the athletes want to know what the plan is for that money. We know we need more infrastructure in Canada. We know we want there to be a plan for grassroots. We know we want there to be a plan for a women's professional league. So what is the plan? And I think these are some of the things that has the players asking for more beyond just the issue of dollars and cents.
Yeah, honestly, Dan, I could probably listen to you talk on this topic for like an hour. It is so wonderful. However, there is Madonna Vogue Strike a Pose going on in the background, because you have to strike a pose right now as you are being honored. I know it's been a long time coming. Pandemic just kind of ruined everything, but go have your moment. You announced your retirement, you know, a couple years ago. You've done great things for the country. You deserve this moment in front of the fans, and we really appreciate taking the time, although we are going to see you at halftime as well here on the show. So we will see you soon, my friend. Go enjoy your moment.
Thanks, I enjoyed it. See you soon. Get my flowers.
Yeah. There goes my hero. Watch her as she goes. Dee is fantastic. There we go. Canada getting set to take on South Korea here. It is a friendly, a tune-up to the Concacaf Championship that will begin July 5th in Mexico. World Cup and Olympic qualifying tournament. We'll have more on Jesse Fleming when we return.
Welcome to All. The more you save with Allstate. Click or call for a quote today.
We call it the beautiful game, where artistry leaves you in awe, mixed with emotion that grips the soul. We are witness to beautiful goals, where unbelievable cannot begin to describe what we just saw. It is where pride comes to life on the pitch. Respect has been earned. This is where one game is found on One Soccer.
There is something quite magical about heading into a new destination. A journey into the unknown. Not alone, but together, as a country, as a sport, ready to soar. We are Canada, and this is our sport. This is our time.
We're used to labels. Apologetic. Sweet. Pushovers.
1, 2, 3, bang!
But screw labels. No more being polite. No more sugarcoating. Because we're labelless and limitless. Oat Canada, the official plant protein partner of Canada Soccer.
Jessie Fleming is set to join the Century Club today as she earns her 100th cap for Canada's women's national team. A rising star within Concacaf, the London, Ontario native has already appeared at 2 World Cups and 2 Olympic Games for her country, earning 2017 Concacaf Best 11 honors amid accumulating 99 appearances for Les Rouges. Oh, and by the way, she's only 24 years old, and she won the treble with Chelsea as well. So she has become a regular with that squad overseas, and you can see where she's about to join some prestigious company. As mentioned, Ashley Lawrence, Kadisha Buchanan, just this past year, they hit the century mark. Christine St. Clair is way over 300. Sophie Schmidt recently entered the 200 club. So pretty special company that she has there. And she's also Ollie, the reigning Canada Soccer Player of the Year. Just where have you seen her growth take her?
I mean, well, the thing is she's still got so much growth in front of her as well. She's she's 24 years old. It's extraordinary that she's winning her 100th cap today. I know it's not unprecedented in this Canadian team. We've seen players come in at a very young age, like Fleming did at age 15 before, but it's still absolutely remarkable to me, and the potential she still has in front of her, I think, is special. But I think you've just seen, since she came into the program and went to Chelsea, I think you've seen a player who's elevated her game and taken it to the next level and become maybe more of a presence in the group as well. You know, I know the comparisons to Sinclair are a little bit lazy just when you see a player who's made as many appearances at a young age, but there are, when you sit down and talk to them, so many similarities between the two of them. You know, that she's quiet, she hates talking about herself. I asked her yesterday what was her favorite memory looking back at her time with Canada so far, and obviously expecting her to say the gold medal where I scored 4 penalty kicks and, you know, played such a massive part. And no, she's talking about Sinclair's record goal and Sophie Schmidt's 200th cap and all of these different things, anything other than herself. But I think you see that side of her, but then on the pitch, there is this really fiery competitor and someone who is really obsessed and detailed and meticulous in improving their game and figuring out how they can get to the next level. So yeah, just a player that I think Canada is incredibly fortunate to have, and again, to have another decade, 15 years in front of her of you know, potentially taking her game to an even higher level.
And be that maestro in the midfield. We know how crucial, obviously, that midfield is, right? Contributing offensively, getting back defensively. She has it all.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've been definitely seeing that evolution because that is not an easy position to play. So Jessie Fleming, congratulations, hitting 100 caps. We will have kickoff soon here on One Soccer.
Canada's women's national team is brought to you by the Toyota Corolla family, hatchback, sedan, and hybrid.
A lot has changed since you got your last perfect vehicle. You met someone. You got a dog. Your best friend met someone too. You got new interests. A new hobby. You felt a little more adventurous. You found a bigger hobby. You explored a little more. You needed a vehicle that reflected the new you. You found it. The all-new Toyota Corolla Cross. Your new perfect.
For life's transitions, working from home, and even small businesses, life gets better when you have space. With no long-term contracts or leases, get the size you need. Sentinel Storage, proud partner of Canada Soccer and the women's national team. Congratulations.
Sports can bring us together or tear us apart. But you know what never disappoints? Shawarma?
We're making what you're craving, Osmos.
CanadaSoccerStore.com is the new home for official Canada Soccer apparel and fanwear, including customized national team jerseys.
Gold for Canada. Open goal, she's gonna try and chip. And it's in, off the post. It's Christine Sinclair.
Show your colors. Pick up official Canada Soccer Nike apparel, including women's national team celebration tour merchandise, replica jerseys, scarves, handwear, and more from one of the merchandise locations.
The preparation for the Concacaf W Championship begins today. Our Canadian heroes are back in Toronto, live from BMO Field for an international friendly with Korea Republic. It is officially the post-Stephanie Labbe era. Kaylin Sheridan will be the woman between the sticks today. And this is a new direction for a team as they retool on the fly and prepare to qualify for what they hope will be both the upcoming Women's World Cup as well as the next Olympic Games. Speaking of the Olympics, we know where history was made not too long ago with a large portion of these group of Canadian icons taking it all the way to penalties and now proudly wear Olympic gold around their neck. And it has been some time since BMO Field played host to our women's national team, and it has also been some time since the Canadians took on Korea Republic. To go all the way back to 2018 in March, the Algarve Cup. Christine Sinclair had a brace in that game. Jessie Fleming would also add a goal in a 3-0 win. All-time, Canada has had the Koreans number 7 wins and only 1 defeat. And for Korea Republic, they come in as the 5th-ranked side in the Asian Football Confederation, 17th in the FIFA World Rankings. Their coach, Colin Bell, was preaching about the importance of testing themselves against a giant like Les Rouges. Special day for Jessie Fleming. She had just been honored for what will be her 100th cap, and fitting that she wears the captain's armband today. As much as this is win now mode for Bev Priestman, this is also about making sure the players who are named to the 23-person roster for the upcoming W Championships, that they are fit and ready to go. We won't have to wait very long for that competition to begin. July the 5th, it begins in earnest in Monterrey, and an international competition on the horizon as well for the Taeguk Warriors. EAFF, East Asian Football Federation, E1 Football Championship on the horizon in July, where they will face China, Hong Kong, and Japan in that group stage after having just recently seen the Chinese in the Asian Cup final. It was a match for Colin Bell, the manager, to figure out what worked and what needs to be improved for this Korean side, and they bring in some reinforcements as well from their 3-0 win in a friendly against Vietnam on the 9th of April. In that same window where Canada hosted Nigeria in a 2-match homestand, both at BC Place and then on Vancouver Island at Starlight Stadium. The most recent performance being a 2-2 draw on the 11th of April. Sophie Schmidt was also honored today for 200 international A caps, and the Korean captain Kim Hae-ri also received some recognition, a nice gesture from the Canadian Association. Kadisha Buchanan, Ashley Lawrence, and Jessie Fleming, all Centurions now for Canada. We'll take a quick break. On the other side of that, we will get you set for kickoff with more of the pre-match presentations and then bring you starting 11s and kickoff. Here it is the Canadian women's national team taking on Korea Republic. Coming up next.
Canada's women's national team is brought to you by the Toyota Corolla family, hatchback, sedan, and hybrid.
A lot has changed since you got your last perfect vehicle. You met someone. You got a dog. Your best friend met someone too. You got new interests, a new hobby. You felt a little more adventurous. You found a bigger hobby. You explored a little more. You needed a vehicle that reflected the new you. You found it. The all-new Toyota Corolla Cross, your new perfect.
A new era for Canadian soccer begins today. Experience the emotion of every match. Watch all the highlights, the breaking news, the best debates, and analysis, and all the information about the Canadian stars playing abroad. Get access to the best of Canadian soccer from any device. Join the new dawn of an unstoppable game. See the rise on onesoccer.ca.
We call it the beautiful game, where artistry leaves you in awe, mixed with emotion that grips the soul. We are witness to beautiful goals, where unbelievable cannot begin to describe what we just saw. It is where pride comes to life on the pitch. Respect has been earned. This is where one game is found on One Soccer.
Welcome to the more you save with Allstate. Click or call for a quote today.
This broadcast of Canada Soccer's national teams is presented by Allstate. You're in good hands.
A special day for a lot of the GTA natives that wear the red and white so proudly, and a special day as well for Diana Matheson, an absolute legend of this team, of this program, and just because she's hanging up the boots, don't think her legacy is done as she shifts her focus to some accomplishments and some ambitions off of it as well. The double centurion, two-time Olympic medalist, 206 caps for country, 193 starts, 19 goals, 23 assists. She truly is one of the greats. And Canada Soccer with a very nice tribute for her. She will be taking to the grass momentarily to receive some very well-deserved recognition. It's always the balance, isn't it, with these home matches, especially these home friendlies, the opportunity to do so much engagement with the supporters and the alumni who come through, the alumna especially in this case, and it's important recognition. They do so much, and of course with the COVID-19 pandemic, so much of their most recent accomplishments were done away from home soil. So when they get these opportunities to play in their own backyards, it is nice to see them get the recognition they so greatly deserve.
And now, please welcome both teams as they take the field for today's international friendly match.
Well, the players take to the pitch now. So our apologies, it was miscommunication. Matheson was honored just in that commercial break that we had. And here comes Canada, here comes Korea Republic. A battle of two top 20 nations in the FIFA rankings. Should be a great match, a technical and tactical battle, and Jessie Fleming, on the day of her 100th cap, will be wearing the captain's armband. Here are the national anthems. We will come back on the other side with starting 11s here at BMO Field.
Fans, please rise with your roses to the national anthem of the Korean Republic. Chers partisans, veuillez maintenant vous lever s'il vous plaît pour l'interprétation de l'hymne national de la République de la Corée.
Please remain standing, raise your Canada colors, and join us in singing O Canada. Veuillez s'il vous plaît rester debout, levez vos couleurs canadiennes et joignez-vous à nous pour le O Canada. We ask that you now please draw your attention to center field and the video board for a special ceremony, as Canada Soccer is proud to take this opportunity to recognize a women's national team legend who has recently retired from the international